Hello, everybody. We are here with Bonnie and Karen, and so excited to welcome all of you here this morning to Coffee Conversations. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Just delighted to have you. And I know we're probably totally messing with you guys because it used to be every Wednesday, and then last week we had to do it on Friday, and today we're doing it on Tuesday. But this is a recorded call for those of you that can't join us live. Hopefully you'll be able to listen in later. And if you love what you hear, if you're really enjoying the content of Coffee Conversations, I did just change the settings on the group to public. So that allows you to share the content, invite people directly, and just again, so we are just delighted to be here with you. So this is my dear friend, Bonnie Clark. Bonnie and I have been friends through Christian Business Partners, through Business Women's Networking Group here in Temecula, and Bonnie has just a huge heart and is passionate about what she does. So Bonnie, start by just sharing with us a little bit. Tell us about your journey. How did you get to being a financial planner?
It was a long journey. And I grew up in a middle-class home with two hardworking parents, which at the time that I grew up, most moms were at home. Wow. But my mom worked. And I think what got me in a very good place to think about finances and be around finances and not be intimidated by finances was that they were hardworking, totally middle class, not upper middle class, but both had generous mindsets.
Okay.
So I grew up with good stories. I wasn't told money doesn't grow on trees and, life is going to be hard when it comes to money. And so that generosity, I just remember being a teenager, and when you'd go to the mall with your friends, my father would just go, here's $100, which was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Man, very generous parents there, Bonnie.
It was, it was. And so they really taught me to enjoy the fruits of the labor, that money is a tool, it's something that you use. And with my mother being a businesswoman, she taught me about credit early. And so that got me very comfortable and expecting good things when it came to abundance.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yes.
So from there,
yeah. Then in most of my adult life, well, a lot of years in my adult life, I was a loan officer.
Okay.
So again, it was a money type business, working for banks and mortgage brokers, and in that process, you get to see people's finances as you're taking those applications. Sure. So you could see things that people consistently did right and people did wrong.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
And you also learned about the way banks use money versus the way they tell other people to use money.
Okay, and so you learned from the professionals. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then that got me interested in turning around how can people use some of those principles. And there are tax codes like 7702, which is a tax code that applies to life insurance and the cash value in life insurance, which enables somebody to have their own sort of funding source and have a flexibility. And then that got me involved in the insurance world, and but more from a money perspective. And then from there it went to full retirement planning and financial planning for people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and for those of you that have joined us for the last couple of weeks, you probably know that Coffee Conversations really is about the whole concept that beauty matters, that, I have hopefully inspired all of you to think about beauty a little bit differently, and really as a way that it just enriches and embellishes our lives. And that's really been the purpose of me doing this, is just to bring a little joy into your life, to empower you to really be equipped in kind of a different way in whatever space you find yourself. And you might be thinking, finances, money, how does that tie into the mission of Coffee Conversations and the whole concept of beauty in our lives? So Bonnie, address that a little bit. Is there a link?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What is more beautiful than confidence? Right? Yeah. Even in physical beauty, you can have physically beautiful people who are so insecure that their beauty cannot shine out.
Right.
And then you can have women that didn't get the same package as somebody else, but they're so confident in who they are and the beauty within them that they're attractive to people, right? And so we need to be holistic in that area, right? That the beauty from within and that confidence within. And in my experience, it seems like one area that sometimes women are lacking that confidence or don't feel empowered is financially. And so what I do is holistic planning, which is from the inside out, because, you know, we each have our own color of money.
Yeah.
You know, our own preference in what we're comfortable with, how much, you know, safety do we appreciate, how much risk are we willing to take. And it's like anything else in life. If you don't do something that is congruent with who you are, if you have an area of your life outside of that, it doesn't really work well, does it?
Right, yeah.
So that's applies to financial planning as well.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, you know, as I was kind of preparing for today, I was kind of personally thinking about that link. And there is something about, I love what you were saying about confidence, because I do think, you know, and of course, those of you that have listened long enough, you know, when I talk about beauty, I'm really talking about fostering that inner beauty, because I think that's so much more important even than externally. And really, it's reflected externally. And confidence is a huge part of that. But the other thing that I was thinking about is when you have inner peace. That's really reflected in a certain demeanor to the outside. So hi, you guys that are joining us live. And so there's something really big about, I think, how beauty and peace kind of align. And certainly when you have a financial plan or you feel like you're in control of that, I can see how that can really contribute to that.
Absolutely.
Well. Yeah, that is great. So Bonnie, so in the few years that I've known you, one thing I know about you is you are passionate about what you do and you love what you do. So talk to us a little bit about that passion. What drives you? What is it about this particular place that has just so resonated with you and that you're passionate to share?
Well, I think what makes me so passionate about this aspect of a money career is that I really know that I'm helping people.
I love that. Yeah.
When I did mortgages, I was good at what I did, but just the whole structure of mortgages, there were times that I helped people get what they wanted, which was a mortgage. But I felt like eventually I was going to be part of their failure because they weren't prepared to own a home. They didn't have the reserves to own a home, but the standards by FHA or VA or whatever it was said you don't have to have reserves. So, you know, people were struggling, and especially in California, biting off more than they could chew. So that wasn't a good fit for me. But with this, every time I help somebody, or let's say I help them get some protection that they need, I know that they're going to be better off financially. So that is a blessing. And then I was blessed in that when my mom passed away, my brother and I received a little inheritance. And that was so huge. It was such a gift. And it's something that you have to honor. And I really, really wanted to up my stewardship of that because I knew I was never going to get a gift like that in my life. And it was insignificant to compare to what some people get. But to me, it was super significant. So that was something that I really wanted to do. And I just felt like that was such an honor. And I wanted to do good with it. And also biblically, I think that wealth should be in the hands of the believers. You know, that is just such a great thing. So if I can help, especially people who want to steward it well, who want to leave a legacy, who want to see the world be a better place, I'm all about it.
Yeah, awesome. Do you mind if I ask, so what did you do with that? Like, what was your financial plan with that inheritance? Are you comfortable sharing that?
Well, I did the best I knew, which was interesting because at that time, I did do set some things up. So I did have what I knew as far as cash value life insurance, which would be a funding source, and that's done really well. And then the best I knew at that time, this was in 2005 when my mother passed away, was a friend of mine worked for one of the labels that you know the big names. Right. And so the best I knew was to invest with her. And I did. And then that was 2005. Came 2007 and 2008. And I was like, wow, because in that model that she was part of, which is one business model, which is a broker-dealer, they have to buy and sell. So when there's a period of volatility, they have to keep you invested because that's that model. And so I was seeing this and getting little notes to hang in there. And that motivated me more to really get involved and get these other licenses and be able to do something. So it was okay, but it led me to what I do now, which is managed money, which has a lot more flexibility in turbulence.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And it sounds like that was a great learning experience too. And I think it almost circles back around to what you said in the beginning, that all of us have different risk tolerances based on our perception, on our kind of how we are internally, how we see the world, what our goals are. And so what may be a great fit for you, maybe other people are risk tolerant and have a greater risk tolerance. And I'm sure there's factors that as you advise people that plays into that as well. So Bonnie, let's go ahead and talk a little bit specifically about money and women, okay? And as I was doing research for this, I came across a really interesting statistic, and that I read that the number of wealthy women is actually rising twice as fast as wealthy men. And experts, and again, I never know how these, quote, experts come up with these projections. But anyway, what they are estimating is that by 2030, women will control as much as 2/3 of the nation's wealth. And I also read that 45% of American millionaires today are women. So that's almost half of all millionaires today are women. And talk to us, are you seeing this trend? And kind of comment a little bit on your thoughts on this.
Well, those are fantastic statistics. And a couple more that I have to share with you is that baby boomer women have a combined net worth of $19 trillion.
Yeah, I saw that too.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I want to see congruency, that we walk like that.
Okay, yeah.
Not just have that statistic out there. And women account for $7.6 trillion of the gross domestic product.
Wow. Yeah.
So women are really doing more and gaining the wealth. And here's some interesting statistics too. 80% of all consumer purchasing decisions are made by women.
Wow.
80%.
That's
Realtors, listen up. 91% of home purchases are made by women.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But look at the things that they're investing in, right? Secure things that are going to have a lasting value.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, I do see that trend of women doing more.
Right. Well, and I love that because, again, so many of the women that I get to interview are entrepreneurs. And I think what we're finding is, yes, you think about the Sheryl Sandersons and, those incredibly out there women that we all admire. But then there's so many women who are actually able to get into a direct sales model or financial planning or something that is entrepreneurial that allows them still to mold to their life so that they are congruent. And I love that word, that you can have sort of a part-time thing that's flexible that you can mold to your life and still be a significant income earner and contributor to your family and your goals and everything as well. So,
and that's true wealth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about the money. If it's only about the money, a lot of people get the money and they've worked so hard they commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the money, and it doesn't bring them that happiness. And we can't buy back time.
Yes.
So I love that fact that women are much more aware of a balanced lifestyle or a full life.
Yeah, it certainly brings challenges too, because I think we as women have to juggle a lot more hats, but it's kind of like we're at this place, I think, where if you're resourceful and connected, and you and I have the privileges of networking with so many amazing women that are really kind of figuring out that lifestyle juggling piece. So let's talk a little bit about successful women. And I know that's sort of a loaded word, successful women. But are there certain habits that you see that successful women, they kind of a commonality that they seem to share? And maybe give us some of these tips. Give us a couple of really practical kind of non-negotiables on how do you kind of start building security, building wealth, and kind of a commonality that you see when you look at successful women.
Well, number one is start right now.
Okay. All right. So is it
never
too late? Is that the mantra?
Pretty
much.
We'll talk about
that.
But start now, because the time value of money and the greatness of compounding, the earlier the better. Mm-hmm. Even if you think it's not significant. Mm-hmm. So many of the lessons I've learned on what to do come from what I've seen what not to do, where people, one of the things with women, right, we're busy with raising children, and then we're going to wind up being the ones, if our parents get older and need someone to care for them, we do that. So that means that Social Security, which makes up about 40% of the average person's retirement income, for women it'll be less, because they're going to take the 35 years of highest income, but many times women are the ones that come out of the workforce to raise families, to do all that stuff. So, so number one is start now, and the other thing is tracking. Okay, so just like anything, if you work with, you've had women on here who help people lose weight. What's the first thing they're going to do when they start a program? They're going to put them on the scale. Does anybody want to get on the scale at that moment? Probably not. But you have to in order to track it.
So baseline.
Yes. And so with finances, we have to determine where you are, and you have to be willing to look at it. And just like if you're going to do well on a physical program, you're going to continue to track on a regular basis and make adjustments. Well, you have to have something that's going to allow you to do that. That's one of the tools we'll talk about a little later, because all you women are busy. We're all busy, right? We've got lives, we've got things that we do, we've got activities, we've got our businesses, and our business doesn't end at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Then we just take off that hat, put on the other one, and keep going. Exactly. So, but there has to be something in our busy lives that's going to help us bring it all together, look at it in one place, and be able to continually track it and make adjustments where needed.
Yeah. So in any other, when you look at commonalities, so you're talking about, if I hear you correctly, you're saying start right now.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if you're 20 or you're 50.
You got to start. Yep.
And then the second thing is kind of if I hear you saying, kind of be really honest in where you're at, kind of get on that scale, weigh yourself. You know?
Right. So you have to have a mechanism financially to enable you to do that. And then the other thing is that really smart women know that just like you're an expert in some fields, right? And I'm an expert in some fields, and somebody else is an expert in some fields. And so I wouldn't write my own will. To me, that would be foolish, right? I'm going to get the professional. And that's the other thing that I think is really important, is to surround yourself with a team of supportive people that you really click with, that listen to you.
Right.
Because it's not about my goals for your finances. It's about what do you want your life to look at like, and how can I get you there?
Which actually, Bonnie, brings me to a question. talk to us a little bit about that concept of fiduciary, because I
Okay.
think that really ties into what you're saying, because I think there is sort of this idea out there that, oh, those financial planners, they just are trying to get you into the space where they make the most money. So talk to us about
Okay.
that word. I know realtors are fiduciaries. I mean, it applies kind of in a broad sense to different areas. But
Yes.
yeah.
So in looking for a financial planner to work with, one of the important things, I think, first and foremost, is to work with a fiduciary. So there are different licenses. So you just have to be careful of who you're working with.
Right.
So what an insurance only licensed person, let's say someone just has a life insurance, they can be great moral people and want to do the best for you, but legally, responsibly, their responsibility is to the insurance companies that they represent.
Okay.
Okay, to do the best job for them. And they function under more of a suitability, which is a lower standard.
Okay.
Is it okay? Yeah, for you to be involved in something like this, and that's
But
suitability.
it's good to know that ahead of
Yes,
time. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And their pay comes by commission. And then there's broker dealers, which is what most people out there are using. Registered investment advisors is a really growing field, which is what I'm involved with. But the broker dealer, their responsibility is really to the firm that they represent.
Okay. Okay.
And the other thing, you want somebody that's going to be like independent. In other words, not stuck to this company's products.
Okay.
Because that's, again, it really can't be the best for you.
Okay.
If I'm very limited on what I can offer you, then I'm going to choose the best amongst them. But
Right.
there might be a whole lot of
Right.
other things out there that
Right.
could be much more innovative and exactly what you're looking for. And then there's the other license, which is the kind that I have, and that is legally my first, foremost, and always responsibility is to do the best for my client.
And that's that word fiduciary.
Fiduciary,
Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah. And
Yes.
that is, I guess, a legal term, right?
Yes.
That means you are obligated to represent
The
this
best
person.
interests
Yeah.
of that
As though
person.
almost like you are them in a way, right? I mean,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I've
and that's
always-
probably a good standard. Like,
Yes.
would I do this for myself? Right?
Yes, and I've always
Yeah.
functioned
Yeah.
under that standard, no matter what license I had. You know, if I wouldn't do the same thing for my mother, my brother, myself, my family, I don't want to do it for you unless it's the right thing for
Right.
you. So but I love having that legal right there all the way.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is, and I bet you even based on that license, there's certain kind of checks and balances that you operate within, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes because of that, I don't work with people.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just not the best thing for them, where somebody else, they've got to look for that commission or the sale.
Right.
So it's really the difference. If you walk into a butcher,
Yeah.
example, if you walk into someone that owns a butcher shop, they're not going to ask you what's your cholesterol, you know,
Right,
how's
right,
any
right.
of this stuff. Whatever you like,
I just want you to buy the meat.
you're going to walk out of there with some form of beef, where if you walk into a dietitian's office, it's a whole different
Right,
thing.
exactly.
And so I would say that the investment advisor representative, like I am, working with registered investment advisors, which is always an entity, it's never a person, that's like dealing with a dietitian.
That was a great analogy, by the way. I love that. Okay, so we talked about how women are really elevating themselves overall in the general population and market space, in finances and all that. Let's talk a little bit about the flip side of that, because as women, sadly, there are definitely challenges that are specific to us.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of those type of things, maybe what you're seeing and how we can hedge ourselves against that.
Perfect. Well, women live longer,
Yeah.
statistically, as a whole. They're more likely to experience hardships due to a spouse passing away or to divorce. And also, statistics show that women are less confident when it comes to making financial decisions, which is really sad because a lot of times
I can see that though.
It's well, if you're a married woman, many times that is just like taking out the trash.
Yeah.
That in your mind is the man's job.
Yeah. I have to, I have a little bit of that going on, and thank you, honey, so much for taking care of those things, but I'm guilty of that, definitely.
Yes, and a lot of times women find out once that husband passes that it wasn't really the way they would want it to be, that it was just a blind trust. And, you know, I think that men want a partner, right?
Yes,
like when you plan a vacation together, do you have a say in it?
Oh, of course, yeah.
When you go out to dinner, do you have a say in it?
Yeah, of course.
So this is going to last a lot longer and is much more significant to your life.
Great
so
point.
it's really something to get involved in the conversation because, you know, a lot of times, especially in the last generation, when pensions were much more popular and a lot more people had pensions, the men chose to they had two choices. You can either get the lion's share now and then it's gone or really insignificant when you die, or you can have it more evened out so that your wife gets that.
Right.
Well, vast majority said, I worked hard. I want to enjoy retirement. So they choose the more upfront.
That is very, very surprising because, you know, my husband's a teacher and he's part of the STRS Teachers Retirement System, and we just actually had to make that choice. And he chose me.
That's nice. He's a keeper.
He is a keeper.
You got a good one. But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. But even
Yeah.
if they choose that, there are still strategies that they can do while they're taking the lion's share up front that will really provide more when they're not there to provide for the women. And also one of the things is that pretty interesting, in 2017 Transamerica Retirement Survey of American workers did a study, and what they found was that women were more likely to say they don't know how much they need for retirement.
Oh, interesting.
56% guessed.
Wow.
That was how they came up with a number of what they would need.
Wow.
Total guess.
Yeah.
And only 38% of the women were using a financial advisor.
What is that comparative to men? I mean, they're those statistics?
Well, men are much more
likely,
to use that.
Yeah.
So again, this is an area where we can definitely grow.
So it sounds like, just backing up for a second, kind of the basics is get started right away. Do your baseline, get on that scale, and then third, know what the goal is. Like, know what you even need, because, and I'm sure that, again, working with a financial advisor, you figure that out, right?
Yes.
And what are some of the factors you take into consideration when you're looking at how much does somebody need?
Well, the longevity of their family.
I was just going to grab my purse I left in here.
You're on camera, smile. That's all right. You're famous. Come on in. Go ahead, Bonnie.
The longevity of their family history is really important. What are their goals?
Lifestyle, right?
Lifestyle, exactly, because women, we want to think about what we want to do. And most women I talk to, they want to travel more. They want to be able to visit with their family when they want to. They want to do great things with their grandkids.
Sure.
And they don't want to be stressing about money.
Yes.
And like I say, I lived in Boca Raton, Florida. So that was an area where you would see a lot of women. And when their husbands were alive, they're going out to dinner 5 nights a week. Once the husband died, now if they go out at all, it's to the early bird at 4:30, and eventually they make decisions like, should I pay my mortgage or should I pay for medications? Because the drop is that drastic, and that is one of the reasons that, according to Social Security, the average monthly retirement benefit is $1,322 a month.
That's not
No,
a lot.
how can you live on that? So you really need to have some accountability on your own and really make a plan that's going to allow you to flourish.
You know, Bonnie, just as I'm listening to you, and you know, I know we're a similar kind of age. You know, this part in life, I am friends with women who have gone through husbands passing, divorces. Just, you know, life happens. So, you know, let's say you are, you know, a 30-something-year-old woman with 3 kids. Of course, none of us ever think that that's going to be us. And I think that's a good thing. You know,
Yes.
I think we can't live just in fear. I don't believe in living that way. But how do you prepare? Like, I mean, divorce, death, how does a woman really, I mean, with her husband, but also thinking like kind of separate. I mean, it's almost like you have to plan with, but also a little bit separately, right? I mean,
Yes,
and,
but
and that's kind of hard, I would imagine, to really do that.
It is, but we all have 100% shot of dying. It's just when, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so one thing is, someone told me a long, long time ago, if women knew what widows know, all their husbands would be insured.
Yeah.
And it is amazing to me how many husbands with young wives with 3 kids at home have no life insurance. So that's one thing, is to start with the absolute basics that you must have.
And the crazy thing, and this is actually one of the things I think we did right. My husband and I, we laugh because we did a lot of things not right, but we got just and when you're 20, 30, term life insurance is so stinking cheap.
Yes.
I mean, it really, really is. And we thought, well, you know, I think we paid like $30 a month. I mean, it was crazy. And that gave us enough confidence that if something were to happen to him or to myself, that our children, you know, don't even do it for yourself, do it for your kids. That was sort of our mentality.
Right.
Yeah.
That's also part of holistic planning, because a lot of people come to me and they go, oh, I have a little, you know, 401k I want to roll over. And that's great. But what you're thinking about investing this, but yet you have no foundation of protection for your family. So again, that's where it has to be. And again, a lot of financial advisors, they want to focus on one or the other.
Yeah,
Either
and
they're
it's
looking at
holistic.
the
I love that.
protections, or they're only looking at investment. But, you know, there's a lot of years and a lot of things can happen between now and 65
So
or
it's almost
67.
like focus on protection and growth.
Absolutely.
So the protection is kind of like given because stuff happens, and the growth is getting that money to work for you and grow. I would say those would be 2 great goals.
Right. And now for that $30 that you started paying when you were young, the newer kind of life insurance not only pays a spouse or an heir if you die, but they also pay you if you have a critical or chronic illness, something like a heart attack or stroke.
Wow.
You can use part of that, even though it's a term policy and there's no cash value, to access money for when you need it most, so that it'll take you over the hump, you know, in that time that you have to heal, and you have those additional expenses, even if you have great
And you
health
have all of
insurance.
those different products available. And again, going back to our conversation, because you care about that person specifically, then you can create a portfolio that works best for that individual.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is awesome. So again, we talked a little bit about the statistics for longevity on women, and again, huge financial implications. I don't know about what statistics you pulled up, Bonnie. I think I pulled up that if you were 65 in 2012, you were, as women, you were going to live average 20 years longer. So, I mean, is that kind of what, in alignment with what you're hearing?
Well, I think that, you know, those statistics are also skewed because they take into account everybody. So most of the women that you deal with and that I know are living a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, that is
so we're going to be on the higher side, and the number of centennials, you know, the people that are centurion, the ones that are living over 100, that is growing like an arc. So it's really likely that a lot of people are going to be living to over 100, which means that income is going to have to last. So because women are going to outlive their husbands, you know, by several years, it's really important that they have a good plan that's going to be giving them some paychecks and playchecks for life.
I like that, paychecks and playchecks.
Yes.
kind of hard to say there. So Yeah, a lot of things to think about. So kind of coming full circle here, I think the overarching thing that I hear is plan.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Okay, so planning. I'm going to give you a couple of things to look for in a good financial planner.
Okay,
Because
awesome.
again, like I really do believe that you need some help. Okay, and so you can have an interview process and make sure you can click with somebody
I love
that's
that.
going to be, you know, for me, I want an ongoing relationship. It's not just once and done.
Yeah.
I want to see the fruit of
You're marrying this person.
exactly. They're part of my tribe now.
Okay.
So one is fiduciary, first and foremost. Definitely find yourself someone who's legally a fiduciary. And then number two, that there's transparency. So any fees, costs,
Okay, I love that too.
anything are clearly laid out.
Okay.
How they work, how they get paid, what other little things are involved in working with them, what kind of vehicles that they use or what they're going to suggest to you, and then technology, which is what I talked about at the beginning too, which gives you access to that transparency. Don't you hate it when we're here in California and we're working on our personal life and it's 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, but you can't connect with anybody till the next day? Then you're busy the next day. So if you can have some technology, like I offer my clients something that's called a generational vault. And so it's a place where they can access 24/7 around the world.
Oh, wow.
As long as they can access internet, they can upload all of their important information, but all the information that we deal with is also there for them to see whenever they choose. So that's really important because that's part of being transparent.
Right. So the way that would work, because you know, one of my financial planning goals is I really want to have all of our financial things in one place. And I actually saw some people that, you know, you go to Pinterest and there's these financial ideas and they made little notebooks. So in some ways, this is like an online file system that where you could have all of your life insurance policies, your bank accounts,
Exactly.
all of that listed in one place. So, you know, if something, you know, tragic would happen to my husband, then rather than trying to gather all those papers,
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. And the one that I offer, it will also bring in those values. So like I said, you got to like get on that scale, you know, on a regular basis. Well, this will give you at any given moment all of your values in one spot, because you know how annoying that is when we have to change passwords every 90 days.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And how many tabs do we have open
And
when we're trying to do something financially? We're looking here, here, here. Well, this is a way
And
to
of
bring
course,
it
it's
all
in a completely secure place
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
So
As secure as the banks or the military is.
as secure as anything can be these days. Awesome. So, Bonnie, if someone's interested in working with you specifically, walk us through that process. How would they get in touch with you? Is there an interview process? What do you offer?
Yes. So